Welcome to my class, and in this we are going to talk about frequencies now. Alright, frequency distribution. Now frequency distribution, when you're doing, we can talk about a characteristic, one characteristic. Like for example, if you're talking about class and marks, or if you're talking about discrete series, then the discrete marks, particular marks with how many students. But if you're talking about, that is known as one frequency, uni. Now if you're talking about more than that, the same characteristic, you're talking about marks, but you're talking about two subjects. So what are they? So how many people got marks in, how many marks in English and how many marks in economics and all of that. So just a little study on what is kinds of frequency distribution. So before we go on to that, just let me explain both frequency array and frequency distribution. Here I'm going to talk about frequency distribution, but frequency array and frequency distribution, what do they show? They show the arrangement of data with frequencies as variables corresponding to different values of some variable, x variable. So it can be a particular variable, x variable means in discrete way or in class interval way. You can group them. So the difference lies in the fact that in case of frequency arrays, the x variable must be a discrete variable, and in a case of frequency distribution, the x variable is not a discrete variable. It's not for a particular observation, but for a group of observations which we call the class interval. So let's just talk about this. I've just written frequency distribution, like for example, are of two types, and it can be there for both of them, the class interval as well as class interval series as well as discrete series. So univariate frequency distribution, this is of a single variable. The distribution of students on the basis of marks obtained, or say, so if, as I spoke, it can be just marks for one particular subject. That will be univariate frequency distribution. Okay, and that could be discrete frequency distribution or continuous frequency distribution. So it can be a frequency array, as I would call, or like that's how we've studied. We would call it frequency array or frequency distribution. Both ways you can have that univariate frequency distribution. Now we have what is known as bivariate. What is bi? More than one. Basically it is two. So generally we are interested in simultaneous study of two variables of the same characteristics or the same population. For example, if we wanting to classify data relating to marks in two subjects, say marks in English and marks in, say, economics. So the data so classified on the basis of the two variables gives rise to what is called a bivariate frequency distribution. And well, this happens both in frequency array and frequency distribution, which means in the discrete series as well as the continuous series. Alright. So in this we have a table in which we can divide it into two parts, one showing say marks in economics and one showing marks in English, and the total. There's a different way to tabulate that data, which I think is not in your course, so I will not go in for it, but you should know what is, as a definition, you should know what is a univariate and what is a bivariate.